All right, so this is a conversation I've wanted to have with you guys about flagship killers in 2020. So the company we're most familiar with in terms of flagship killers is probably OnePlus. They were a company that came with the OnePlus One, fantastic phone, and when they came with the OnePlus 2, they marketed that phone specifically as the 2016 flagship killer. And the whole idea is that you take a phone and you fill it up with great hardware and you price it at this inexpensive price point that competes with premium smartphone brands. And that's what they did. They did a really good job at disrupting the smartphone market with their inexpensive phones. And it wasn't just OnePlus, right? You have companies like Xiaomi and Oppo and Vivo, and even companies that didn't classify themselves as flagship killers, they did the same kind of thing, disrupting the market with inexpensive priced phones. And I'm not talking about cheap budget phones, right? I'm specifically talking about phones that were designed to compete with flagship products from premium brands. If you look at these flagship killer companies, a lot of them have changed how they're even pushing out phones. Like they're no longer making $400 flagship killers, they're pushing out $600, $700, $800 phones that are flagships themselves. Like if you look at OnePlus, their rumored OnePlus 8 is a full-blown flagship phone. It's supposed to have wireless charging, IP-rated water resistance, and it's rumored to have an $800 price tag, which is a far cry from the $350, $400 flagship killers that they used to put out. And even companies like Xiaomi, like their Redmi Note 10, Note 10 Pro, those are so much more expensive than they have been in the past. It really feels like the whole notion of flagship killer phones are no longer part of the equation. And I think the reason is, well, there's two things. Number one, and this applies to basically any kind of flagship killing company like OnePlus, their end goal was always to be in that premium segment, right? The strategy was like you make these cheap phones that don't make a lot of money, but you build a brand, you build a fan base, and when you have a large enough audience, then you make the premium stuff because that's where the money is, and that's what OnePlus is doing. And it's great, it's working out for them. But the other reason, and this is the big reason, I think the entire smartphone market has matured to the point where companies struggle to deliver features that customers actually want. Like we're seeing features like 12 gigs of RAM on phones. We're seeing 108 megapixel cameras. We're seeing 30x zooms, 50x zooms, 100x zooms. And it's not that this stuff is not cool, right? It's neat. But when you pump out phones this frequently with this little innovation in between them, you inevitably get phones that become obsolete really quickly. And what happens is that phones drop in price super fast. Like this is a barely 1-year-old phone, the Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus, and this is now half price. It's barely 12 months old, and you can get the S10 phone starting at $450 on Amazon right now. The price is incredible, and this is a great phone. It's got Snapdragon 855, an OLED screen with a hole punch camera. It's got 8 gigs of RAM, a headphone jack. Like there's so much good stuff going on in this thing, and it's $450. The Pixel 3, that thing is $250. And I think these phones, these previous years of phones, are the new flagship killers. Like these are the phones that are almost cannibalizing the sales of the current stuff because these are so good and so cheap, and most importantly, they're so close in feature set to the newest stuff. Like let's say you're in the market right now for a new phone and you're looking at the Galaxy S20 from Samsung, and I'm not trying to single out Samsung here. This applies to basically every Android premium flagship phone in the market right now, but you have to really value the few features that distinguish this phone from the S20. Like you really have to love the whole idea of a 120 hertz screen. You have to really dig that 30x camera zoom to spend the extra $400 or $500 on the S20 over the S10. And this whole thing also applies to companies right now that are trying to be flagship killers. Like if you look at Realme, they have a phone, the X2 Pro. It's a great phone, but that thing is also $450. And if you're a prospective buyer, would you rather spend your money on that or something like the S10 that has a proven camera system, proven software, and I'm assuming a way better international warranty? It's difficult for the traditional flagship killing model to succeed right now. Like I actually feel like if OnePlus came out today and they were trying to do what they did 5-6 years ago, I don't think it would work because these phones, these 1-year-old phones have shaped the market in a way that it makes it really difficult for the flagship killer to be exactly that. These are the new flagship killers. I really feel like the 1-year-old phones, they've gotten so cheap and so fast, like they've gotten so cheap so quickly that they've now become the things that actually hurt the company when they're trying to sell their new stuff. Okay, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thumbs if you liked it, subs if you loved it. See you guys next time.